A warm welcome for all of you folks who have joined us to this Southern African Innovation Support Programs webinar. And this webinar, of course, as you know, it will be about the second call for proposals for SAIS 2 program, and more specifically to the SAIS 2 Programs Innovation Fund. My name is Ilari Lindi, and I'm lead expert at the program office with the overall responsibility and oversight to the SAIS 2 Innovation Fund. I'm also hosting you today here, and we have the SAIS team giving out the presentation throughout the webinar, so it won't be only me who talks to you. And I hope we can then at the end of this webinar have an interaction also through a Q&A session. And that of course is something that you can also forward as questions throughout and during the presentations of this webinar. The purpose of this webinar today is to provide you with the general overview on what SAIS is as a program, but also on the specifics of what the Innovation Fund as a part of the program is. And what is the call for proposals process? What are the things maybe you as an applicant would like to take into consideration and to remember when you are working with your application? And of course, we hope that we can provide you that kind of advice that eventually may turn out to be a successful submittance and eventually the awarding of the grant to you. So the webinar is organized in 3 parts. The first part will be an overview of the program, and this will be presented by SAIS Program Director, Ms. Flora Tibasarva. The second part, right after Flora, it will be me. I will go through a little bit more in detail what the Innovation Fund is about and what are the specifics for this particular call. And the third part of the presentation takes you through the digital submittance process. We are doing online submission, as you may have noticed already. So colleague Theodensia Thomas will walk you through the operation of the digital submission tool, Smart M&E. And please note also that it's a submission tool for concept note, also for the full proposals, if you get to that stage. And SAIS will also use Smart M&E as a digital tool also to monitor the progress of the project as well as the related grant. Regarding the questions during the presentation, as I mentioned, you can submit these online, and we try to answer you also on real time if possible. Please type your questions in a question box in the webinar control panel. And afterwards, we will have a Q&A session for those questions which we are not able to answer during the webinar. And hopefully we can cover all the questions, whatever raised during this event. We have also taken note that time is limited and we may not be able to cover everything. So we have put aside a little bit time for more, say, personal advising, and we would like to respond to some of the questions also via email and even call-in sessions, which will be then advised later on, for example, in our website, whoever still feels that the questions have not been fully answered. But now let's go on to the presentations, and let me hand over to colleague Flora Tibasarva, who is the program director.
Thank you, Ilari, and welcome again, everyone. The SAIS is an innovation support program, and it was initiated in 2011 and supported by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Finland and 4 governments in the SADC region. Sorry, my apologies. So the main aim of the program is to stimulate and strengthen innovation at regional level by establishing new mechanisms and building on national innovation ecosystems. The program is currently in its 2nd phase and will run until 2021. And In this phase, the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Finland has partnered with 5 African governments. This is Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, Tanzania, Zambia, and the SADC Secretariat. The program objective, as you can see on the screen, is enhanced regional cooperation and national innovation systems that contribute to inclusive business and development. So SAIS 2 is built on SADC policies for industrialization, youth participation and empowerment, and it draws us substantially from the Finnish development policy guidelines. The program focuses in 3 areas: that's stronger ecosystems, scaling young enterprises, and inclusive innovations. And it has those 3 components of an innovation fund, like Hilary mentioned earlier, capacity building, knowledge and networking, which I'll go into in the next few slides. Its implementation for this phase is from 2017 to 2021. At implementation level, apart from the 5 African governments that are represented by their ministries that are responsible for innovation, these governments have selected national focal points in these African countries. And the focal points are national organizations mandated for innovation support. In Botswana, this is the Botswana Innovation Hub. In Namibia, this is the National Commission for Research, Science and Technology, NCRST. In South Africa, this is the Technology Innovation Agency. In Tanzania, it is the Tanzania Commission for Research, Science and Technology, COSTECH. And in Zambia, it is the National Technology Business Center, which is NTBC. And this is part of this community is also the SADC Secretariat. I need to re-emphasize that because this is a regional program and you all need to take significant note of that. So to measure the attainment of its objectives, SAIS has 3 result areas, and you see them now featured on the screen. The first is institutional development for regional collaboration, where the improved capacity of innovation support organizations that are the main applicants to SAIS, we seek to support them that they can further support private sector innovation and enterprise development. And we see this as being a very key element of the support that's provided from SAIS. The second result area is innovation in enterprises. And we believe if the capacity of startups and early stage enterprises is improved, it will result in new innovations and new markets entered and or created. The third result area is inclusive innovation. And here SAIS 2 seeks to attain by improving and or creating an enabling environment for promoting new or improved products, services, and processes for excluded markets and communities. SAIS 2 does all this to support job creation and employability, and we all recognize that this is a huge challenge in this part of the world. And through this support, we will facilitate economic growth and contribute to national, local, and SADC policies that advocate for the same. It's expected that through SAIS 2, the region will benefit from new or improved products, services, and processes in its markets, facilitated by knowledge exchange through trans-regional cooperation. As I mentioned earlier, SAIS 2 uses 3 implementation mechanisms. And the first is the SAIS 2 Innovation Fund, which is a competitive fund and had its first call early in 2018. And currently, we have launched the second call, which you've probably seen the advert for. And this is the main purpose of this webinar. My colleague Hilary will talk you through the second call. However, I would like to give you just a snapshot of what transpired in the first call. And what you see on the slide there depicts that we have a 2-stage process, concept note and full proposal, each of them being subjected to review and approval. And the results of the first call, which you can see there, are 12 projects that are being funded and currently being contracted. To complement the matching grants that SAIS provides, the Innovation Fund program offers capacity building to all the grantees in the area of data collection and analysis, market entry and access to finance, co-creation and collaborative design. And this should facilitate the modalities of the capacity building programs are based on a train-the-trainer approach to build sustainability of the skills and competencies for the region. The third mechanism SAIS 2 promotes is knowledge and networking, as the objectives of regional collaboration are hinged on a strong networked community. SAIS 2 has established a platform of hubs in the region, supported by the national focal points and other international experts. This platform is called Connected Hubs, and it serves to provide startups with access to training and opportunities such as soft landings. SAIS 2 also hosts an annual event, which brings together innovation actors in the multi-helix space to cross-fertilize ideas and showcase the new and improved products, processes, and services. This annual event is organized with a regional partner to complement and strengthen the value created by such activities. SAIS 2 also builds its knowledge base and stretches its implementation efforts through partnerships. For these and more of what SAIS 2 is doing for the innovation ecosystems in the SADC region, please visit our website and follow our social media pages. I want to thank you all for taking time to listen to this brief of the SAIS 2 program. And now I'll hand you back to Hilary to continue with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Flora. Thank you. I hope you got a good understanding and little bit a brief on what is actually the driving mechanism behind SAIS and why the program has been established and who are the players that are through us supporting the entrepreneurs, but also innovation intermediaries in the region. So in this presentation, let me go through the mechanisms as Flora already mentioned. Can I get a next slide, please? So I will walk you through the SAIS through Innovation Fund, which is one of the mechanisms, if not the key mechanism in the program. And this, of course, is the mechanism that we will be engaging, hopefully, with excellent projects with you once they've been selected at the full proposal stage to the implementation. The Innovation Fund is here to support really trans-regional projects which are seeking market validation and initial deployment for innovations. And the way we consider innovation, these are new or improved products or services or processes, and particularly in the target market, which is the SADC region. The modality of the Innovation Fund is a challenge-based. So we are really looking this particular theme of supporting entrepreneurship through better working innovation ecosystems and innovation support organizations. And we are asking, of course, the proposers and applicants to submit us call for proposals. And the purpose is to select the highest quality proposals within the available budget that has been allocated to each call. These are matching grants, so it's not, the money doesn't come as 100% free. We are expecting that the applicants are also putting the resources, their own resources, to roll out these innovations to the market. And I will talk a little bit about that later on when we look at the different call windows. So what is the level of the matching resources required? And as Flora already mentioned, we have a training which is provided for all the grantee projects. So they are, to a certain extent, then in a privileged position to also enjoy some of the world-scale training that SAIS partners will be providing for selected project teams and potentially also to their clients and beneficiaries. So the Innovation Fund, the themes are connected ecosystems, stronger enterprises, and inclusive innovation. And the beneficiaries, what we are particularly looking for, are innovation support organizations who are working with startups, early stage entrepreneurs, SMEs. They can also be working with and launching or strengthening already existing innovation networks, as well as we are looking at the NGOs who are operating in this space. The innovation support organization by definition is important because SAIS will seek to support entrepreneurs through multiplier organizations. So that type of entities who are already acting in the innovation ecosystem in a position where they are brokering services to different clients, including startups and early stage entrepreneurs, bringing the innovation ecosystem players together to design joint activities, or providing training and strengthening the skills and even resources, as well as policy making on this particular field. Conditions for SAIS Innovation Fund are fairly well defined, in a sense that we do really want to focus on trans-SADC cooperation. So the project, first and foremost, have to happen and be implemented in the SADC region. We are also not a research program per se, so we are not expecting that any projects are really putting forward that kind of a proposal that includes heavy investments in R&D or in building up the infrastructure. The size of the grant is not that substantial, nor is the duration of the SAIS process as such that we can really focus on transferring really early stage ideas into the stage where they could be rolled out to the market. So our focus is already existing tangible ideas which have been further developed up to the level of a prototype or a concept, which then can be demonstrated in the market, whether it works, whether it's not, what are the actual components of the programs that may need to be enhanced, and what would be potentially the business plan behind it when we are rolling it out. So it is really about the proof of concept. At the same time, SAIS projects, these are collaborative projects, so we are expecting to have a consortiums who apply. So minimum 2 different type of innovation organization engaging in a joint activity. 2 organizations also coming from the different innovation ecosystem. So one coming from one country and one coming from another country. It is really important for us, as well as then, of course, to our beneficiaries in the end, that this kind of partnerships and engagement, which further on then facilitates not only learning and knowledge exchange, but also collaboration and potentially opening up new markets for those innovations within the SADC region. We are working closely with our partner organizations, as Flora already mentioned, in each of the 5 SAIS partner countries, TI in South Africa, NCRST here in Namibia, where we are currently hosting this webinar, NTBC in Zambia, BIH in Botswana, and of course, last but not least, COSTECH in Tanzania. So let me turn a little bit now more on the innovation and what kind of innovation fund and the themes. So 3 themes are cascading down to the 3 calls, or let me say 3 calls are cascading down into the 3 themes, and the themes are represented in the innovation fund as windows. So we have a different type of thematic opportunities for different type of projects, which are then manifested as windows in the innovation fund core. Connected ecosystems, stronger enterprises, and inclusive innovations. Innovation fund on SAIS is also, as I already mentioned, focusing very much on practical projects. So the purpose is not really to support something that will be developed further from the scratch or from the wild idea, simply for the sake of the reasoning that we have a limited time, so duration of the project is limited, but also funding is limited. And the overall purpose really is that when we have, or you have, a project which has a prototype or a concept, and how to roll out that to the real world, it requires a validation with your potential users and your potential target markets. So the starting point for each project, of course, should be that there is a team in place. There is a project coordinator who, most of the cases, is also acting as an owner of the project. It is their concept, it is their prototype that needs to be tested in the market. And they also are the ones, or it can be, of course, some other consortium member who is driving it and who has the initial idea, what does it take to roll out this product, service, or a process to the market. So we are looking really the feasibility of these prototypes, and which can be and will be verified via practical demonstrations. Setting up a validation environment or testing environments which enables the users as well as the other potential partners to see how this innovation would actually operate in the real life conditions. What would people be ready to pay for it? What kind of a technology would it actually require to roll out? Who are the clients? Who are the potential partners who are needed? Where does the competition lie? These all elements should then finalize the project into a plan for initial development. So the service, product, or a process could really roll out to the market, if not necessary anymore with SAIS funding, but with other sources. The end point of SAIS project should be why, who, where, and how this innovation will be sustained. The end point can also be a result that no, this is not going to fly, or it can be a result that we need also significant reconfiguration in the technology or in the business plan. SAIS encourages also replication. So we do see that there are already very good, valuable, workable innovations in the market. So in case you are planning to reuse your good practice or your good project, which is already tested and trialed in one part or one market in a SADC region, we are supporting activities that will help to see whether it actually would scale or replicate in the other part of the SADC region, in the other market. This is also an opportunity to give the project opportunity to mix with the other players in a different innovation ecosystem and also learn from them. So when you are preparing your proposal, please pay in mind that this is one potential way to go forward as well. We would like you to think about that. How can I also build from already existing or another project ongoing already? Not, of course, to duplicate resources, but if the ongoing project is well working, achieving good results, potentially with SAIS resources, it can also be replicated in the different market in a different country. And finally, of course, not to mention that the SAIS2 project, these really are trans-SADC activities. So this means that most of the consortium entities are encouraged to come from the SADC region, so SADC countries. But bear in mind that SAIS project has to be led by an entity which are hosted and registered in those 5 SAIS partner countries. You can also take on board partners that are coming outside of SADC region, but there the grant number of the grant resources which can be allocated for them is capped up to the certain percentage. And this information you can of course find in the Innovation Fund manual as well. Before going into more detailed explanation of the current call, just a couple of statistics of our first call for proposal process that has already closed. And also giving you a picture that how will the process unfold from here. So we have a concept note application stage where we've been asking you to prepare and submit. And then after the submittance, we will have the eligibility screening. First, we are looking the technicalities in the application. Are the necessary attachments there, which are proving that the entity actually exists? Second eligibility screening, we are also looking that is the proposal actually aligning with the national and regional policies? Is the scope and focus within the program? Then we go on the concept note evaluation, and after that, certain number of the projects will be asked to submit a proposal to a full proposal stage. And again, the same process will replicate itself regarding the full proposal applications. The first call, the concept note stage for SAIS looked a little bit like this. So here you can get understanding of what were the submissions that were coming per different SAIS partner countries. Here you also can get an understanding of geographic spread of the applications per call window, which window was most popular and which was less. But also importantly, highlight that the gender representation in the project team, but also in the focus of the project is important for SAIS. And that's why we also take a note on how women and girls are also represented in the applications. Then we go on the full proposal, and a similar kind of numbers are here for you to reflect. And it's worthwhile to note that while we got a good number of the proposal, 149 in a concept note stage, after the eligibility screening, we went into the evaluation with approximately 100 applications. After those 100 applications, 43 were invited to submit the full proposal, and 35 of those who were invited to submit actually submitted a proposal. After evaluation of the full proposal, we went down to the 13 projects who were invited to the contract negotiations. And during the negotiation, unfortunately, one project had to withdraw. So in the end, we were left with the 12 projects to go forward. Call for proposals, concept note. You have probably seen that we extended the deadline until the 31st of January. And I hope this 1 week will make a big difference and help also your work in the preparation. Quick facts about this particular call. So estimated total budget for this, it has been put to the 1.6 million euros. And we are really thinking that maybe we can also top the submission numbers what were there on the first call. Nevertheless, going forward, then your proposal will be evaluated by independent experts that have been invited by and approved by SAIS board. And these are people who are recognized experts in the field and represent themselves, but also coming from the good organization, from the SADC region and also outside the regions. And finally, we hope that once we go through the 2-page proposal and we have evaluated then the last full proposal, the contract negotiation with those selected applicants, potentially again, a batch of 12 could start in May, June, eventually turning out that the first contracts being kicked off and the project being kicked off in July and August 2019. This is an indicative timetable, of course, and I would ask you to pay attention for this, but we hope that we can more or less stick to these ballparks. Then going into the deeper on the windows of the call for proposal 2018. So we have a first window which is about stronger ecosystems. Project budget is the limit between what you can ask as a grant from SAIS is 70 to 100,000 euro. So meaning we don't want less than 70,000, but unfortunately you are not able in this window also to ask a grant more than 100,000. The theme is developing institutional capacity for regional innovation cooperation. I open this up a little bit later more in detail. And here we are looking for matching funding of 20%. So if you are asking, say, 100,000 euro for your project, there needs to be a 20% equivalent of the matching funding in that ask. However, in this particular call, we are not requiring you to put forward a cash but in-kind contribution calculated is sufficient. Potential beneficiaries, as this is a more knowledge-oriented call, we see that here universities, incubators, hubs, labs, academic and research bodies who are working on the areas of understanding better what mechanisms work in innovation ecosystems and what doesn't. This could be something that would be fit for them. Project duration 12 to 18 months. I would also advise everyone really think hard that 12 months is surprisingly short time. So pay attention to what kind of a duration eventually you would like to establish for your market validation project. Second window, stronger enterprises. So this is our biggest window, and it's 180 to 250,000 euros. And this is about scaling enterprises through stronger innovation support organizations. Here, the matching funding requirement is different. Here, we would actually look forward to have 10% of the matching funding or matching resources in cash. Reason being here, again, as it is with all the other SAIS projects, in fact, is that SAIS doesn't really provide advance payment. So we would like you to come forward with already existing prototype that you are more or less already committed to roll out to the market. And we would like to see that you are able to, as an organization, put resources, both cash and in kind, preferably above the actual limit what SAIS is asking to roll this out to the market. Incubators, hubs, labs, accelerator and tech transfer offices, we see that this kind of innovation support organizations who are primarily dealing with the startups and early stage enterprises would be interested. Finally, inclusive innovation, 100 to 150,000 euros. Here we are looking collaborative development with excluded communities. So markets which are excluded from, say, service delivery for the economical or social or other type of reasons. How could SAIS grant help your project to establish and show that there is an opportunity to actually deliver good products and services with the community and to the community in this particular window? Again, 20% in kind. All project windows, we are also really looking that you are establishing a trans-SADC collaboration. So pay attention and remember that you need to have a partner organization in 2 countries. SAIS itself, we don't take a stand what would be the role of the partner organization or how will you allocate the budget, but you should have opportunity to actually share what you are doing with the organization coming from the different ecosystem. Now going more detail perhaps on the stronger ecosystems on window 1. So here, maybe it's worthwhile to think when you are looking at your own ecosystem that what does it look like? How does it work? Are there components, elements, or say activities which are missing? Is there something that, for example, ecosystem in other countries already implementing successfully that could be then transferred to your ecosystem, which is missing of that? So objective here is to support analytical projects that are really enhancing understanding of the ecosystems in SADC region and how do they operate, and build the capacity of the innovation support organizations to better assist their clients. And in this kind of a project, one can consider that it's a capacity that is built to assist not only the entrepreneurs, but also maybe to advise your policymakers on what works and what doesn't, and really make a proof of concept if you have assumption. Scaling enterprises, window 2. Here we are really looking at the innovation support organizations like your innovation hubs, innovation labs, tech transfer offices, maker spaces. So this kind of organization that play multiplier, convener, and coaching role for the early stage entrepreneurs and startups. The objective here is twofold. We would like to see that this project would actually strengthen the support organization's ability to assist the entrepreneur and to operate yourself as an orchestrator of the joint activities in the ecosystems. And you can do this by bringing forward those entrepreneurs, early stage entrepreneurs who you are already assisting and hosting, and see that how SAIS funding would also help them to test and trial their prototype product or service in the market. We are also here encouraging networks to apply. We see that there already are good networks existing within SADC, but also going outside of SADC. So again, it might be worthwhile here to see that how can you chip in and bring in your partners from the wider SADC region and maybe someone even beyond. Inclusive innovations, as I mentioned already. So here we are looking to assist entrepreneurs and other role players in the ecosystem on how do they understand the practice on building a case for a good product or service together with the potential community, where perhaps the delivery expectations might be a little bit more distant horizon and break even in 10, 15 years time, or perhaps this could be a public good that will never necessarily break even, but would be worthwhile to implement maybe with the support of your local or regional government. So the support is provided to entrepreneurs to encourage them and innovation support organizations to use and to understand those technologies and methods that can facilitate this type of a collaborative development with the community. Again, the spread would be really focused, or the call would be focusing on multipliers or innovation support organizations such as incubators, but also research and academia working in this space, and particularly for NGOs. Finally, a couple of things to remember going through what would a proposal need to tackle and to think about. So align with the national policies and focus on entrepreneurship. SAIS has a certain focus, which is innovation and entrepreneurship, innovation systems that are specifically helping entrepreneurs. So think about this. The project has to be transnational in scope, and they need to ring a bell and satisfy the needs with the entities of minimum 2 SAIS member states. While the ecosystems may be different, challenges may be different, nevertheless, it's important to see that what works and what doesn't, and if it works, how to customize in a different environment. Consortium should include minimum of 1 organization from 2 SADC countries. And minimum in these two organizations, the other one has to come from SAIS 2 partner country. And we have 5 partner countries, as Flora already mentioned. Nothing prevents you to build a larger consortium. It can be 5, 6, or even more. Depends on how do you see that your project can be constructed. And really address the physical and cultural connectivity and issues, obstacles for collaboration. You have been working in your own field, in your own ecosystem. You know the best where the obstacles are. Think SAIS project also as something that could make a proof of concept how this could be overcome, or how the landscape could be improved to remove the obstacles for collaboration. Comply with open standards and good practice in sharing knowledge. So SAIS very much is a knowledge sharing program, and we would like you also to think your activity as such and being beneficial for you. So more open, the better it is. But also think about when hopefully you get the grant, that there are of course issues that are related to the IPR and which in turn are related to the trust and confidence. So before you submit, think about who owns it and who has access to different IP that is created during your project or has been put into your project. It's very important that these issues are defined beforehand. Additionality, again, I already spoke about this. So SAIS project is something that is a natural process of rolling out your innovation. don't invent projects just for the sake to get SAIS funding. It has to be something that you have already thought about it, but maybe you haven't found a particular financing line for this activity. And we also want that you would be really the owner, the champion who delivers it to the market. Based on the existing prototype or concept, no need to start developing anything from the scratch with SAIS funding. There already has to be something in place. And finally, commit to share regular information about your project progress online and with SAIS annual event. Naturally, this depends, of course, it's in your judgment and your jurisdiction. What do you decide to share? So I leave it here, and again, we will be available at the end of the session for additional questions and hopefully can provide answers as well. But let me now invite my colleague Theodensia Thomas to discuss a little bit about what is the submission mechanism for SAIS concept note proposal. It will be the same mechanism for full proposal as well. So Theodensia.
Thank you, Eli. I'm going to present to you about SmartME. SmartME is a system or a digital platform that SAIS2 Innovation uses to facilitate the process from application, review, monitoring, evaluation, and reporting. SmartME is a user-friendly and is strictly confidential. The advantage of this system is that you can access the system from any device that you want to use. You can either use laptop, a PC, or a cell phone. You might be wondering how you can get access to the system. What you need to do is, you need to go to visit our website. On our website, on the home page, there's an icon says, call proposal now open. You can click on that icon, and then it will take you straight to the SmartME platform. Once you are on the SmartME platform, there on the screenshot that is showing now on the system, that's the registration page. What you need to provide on that registration page, you need to put in your name, your surname, your email address, and the password. Once you are done with that, you can now click on the register tab, and then you can get a verification confirmation that will be sent on your email just for confirmation. Once you are done with that, you can now open your SmartME system to start with your journey to submitting your concept note, So once you are in the system now, you can go to my application. Is it showing on the screen? Go to my application, and then you will start with the first step. The first step to the concept note is pre-registration. Pre-registration is the first step that you need to do for you to go to concept note. What you need to provide on this form, you need to provide the project name, project coordinator, and a short summary of your proposal. Please take note, pre-registration is not an application. It's not subjected to rejection, no approval. It will not be evaluated, and feedback will not be provided on this form. And if you have filled in the information on the pre-registration, and then you maybe meet something and you already submitted your pre-registration, you can always change these things when you come to the concept note. Okay, you are now done with your pre-registration, and then you have submitted it. And then you want to come back to come and start with your concept note. What you need to do, you need to log in the system, and then you go to my application. Once you are there, if you can see where I'm pointing you can see where it says concept note application. Once you are there, you can open it. And when you open it, there's a lot of things that you need to fill in. And there's instruction on every required section. There's instruction there that you need to pay attention to when you are filling in these things. So you have now opened up your concept note, and you have started filling in your information. So please note, there are a few things that you need to take note when you are submitting your concept note. Because if you did not pay attention to these things, you will not be able to submit your concept note and you will have an error. So if you go to my application, if you can see on the screenshot, there is 3 annexes that you need to fill in. You need to, once you click on each annexes, these annexes are confirmation of compliance form, legal entity form, and application process feedback survey. So you need to fill in all these annexes. Another thing again that you need to take note of, this system will allow you, let's say you have partners in other countries, it will allow you 1 or 2 more people to work on one concept note. What you need to do, the project coordinator will then invite, they will have to invite you on the system, and then you can now start working on the system, on the concept note. Okay, there are a few things that you need to pay attention to as well. The concept note contains of project summary, project coordinators, the information like project coordinator, name of the organization, those are the things that you need to submit. Financial information, project overview, project information, and so forth. So another thing, there's also documents that you need to upload on the system. These documents, please make sure that they are in PDF, and then you have named the document as per instruction on the shown on the each section, on the required section. Please take note as well that all the notifications that are happening on your concept note will as well come through your email. Another thing that you need to know is that you can post questions on the system. You can go under support. If you go to my homepage at the dashboard, on the dashboard, there is support there. You can go in that support, and then you can submit all the questions that you have. Answers will also be provided on the same platform. There's also, when you come to when you are doing your concept note, there's few things again that you need to make sure. When you are putting in the output and activities, please make sure that you use numbers instead of letters or any other thing, because you will have an error. I hope I have covered everything. Thank you so much for having time to listen to this. I'll give back to Hilary to continue with questions and answers.
Thank you, Terdencia. So I hope this very short and brief look to Smart M&E would also help you to understand and get you better equipped in order to submit the concept note. We have now, with the extension, we have now 2 weeks to go, or you have 2 weeks to go to submit your proposal. And we hope that this would be sufficient time for you to finalize your work. There is a SAIS concept note requires some work, but it's good to also remember that once you go forward to the full proposal stage, we don't really expect you to duplicate all the work what you have done already now. The concept note stage is important also because at this point in time, we would like to really see that what is the innovation that you have. Is it an innovation to the market and to the users at this current stage? Or is it something that's already been tested and done, and maybe the novelty of your proposal is a little bit of a lesser scale? Also think about that, is it doable? Is it implementable? Is it implementable especially with those resources that you are proposing to put forward, including also, of course, SAIS 2 grant? These are the things that one needs to reflect at this stage, and also thinking about that is the setup of the consortium. So the players who are coming together to implement the project, is this the right one? Do you have right skills, right capabilities in place? Are you missing something? Or is there a free rider in your consortium? So all these type of things are good to reflect now in the concept note stage. And these are also something that our independent evaluators will look like. But let us turn now into the questions and answers. And maybe if I can take a first batch here by myself, And I will then invite also colleagues Flora and Theodensia to really look at what are the questions. I have a question here which says, although the program requires collaboration with organizations in SADC country, is it possible to still be considered if you have a consortium of various partners within the same country? So SAIS is a regional program, so you need to have one partner outside of your own country. Not all the consortium partners can come from one country. So you need to have a partner from other country, whether in SADC or beyond SADC. But it's up to you to decide what role will that other partner play. How much resources, including budget, would you actually render to the use of the other partner? Second question is that I would like to apply for funding, but I'm part of a university. Can I still apply and be the project manager if I have the support of my university for the project? Of course, this relates then to yourself and how do you see that your time is being spent in a year? What kind of liabilities do you have towards your current employer? Are you able to take away, say, 50% of your personal time to execute the SAIS project? This is something that you, as an applicant, you need to judge and assess, and not only go through the same assessment for yourself, but also extend it to your potential partners. We don't necessarily require that the SAIS project is a full-time project for all the participants, including the project coordinator, but it is challenging to manage a project that is trans-regional and includes several partners. So a substantial amount of time needs to be allocated to manage the project, but also in case you are providing technical contributions to the project, you need to double that time. So that is up to you to think. Third question, is there a platform that SAIS can provide for identifying possible partners in the region? This is, it's a good question, and we've been asked this before. And as a program management office, we of course might be in a position to recommend something, but maybe more importantly, because we do have a partner organization in every SAIS partner country. So I would really ask you and invite you to go and talk with your partner organization, our focal point in your country. They can also assist you to reflect a little bit about your proposal as well, but certainly they would also have a contacts to their own partners or the focal points in other SAIS countries. And maybe this can be a way to find a partner. What does trans-SADC mean? Well, trans-SADC for us, it means that your project has to cross the borders of 2 SADC countries. So it has to have a component that is implemented in 2 different countries. It can be in the simplest form, it can be a study visit, which will be taken from one country to another country. In a more, of course, we would hope that your project would be more substantial. For example, testing the workability or the feasibility of, say, an accelerator program in other SADC country. But it's up to you to decide on what level of this transnational cooperation you want to build into your project. May I ask Flora if you would like to take a couple of questions now?
The next question is, do partners need to be in the same line of business? Not necessarily. That's dependent on the project itself and how you would complement each other in delivering on the product, process, or service, the innovation that you want to create. And so SAIS is really encouraging sharing of exchange of knowledge and experiences. And so in that sense, if you have a partner that is in a different line of business, which you would like to enter or learn from, then you can put that in your project. The next question is, could you please say more on the capacity building that SAIS offers to complement the grant, particularly market entry and access to finance? So in this capacity building is offered to the projects, mainly those who are applying under Window 2. And these are the innovation support organizations that support scaling of enterprises. And so it's an accelerator and an investment readiness program that is being offered there. SAIS will be providing information for the first set of grantees, and all the capacity building initiatives that are being done by SAIS are being put up also on our website, because we're an open source platform, as Hilary elaborated earlier. We have a Creative Commons, we ascribe to Creative Commons, so everything that SAIS does, it will provide for others to have access and utilize. So the details of that program you can also see once it's implemented on our website, at least for the first cohort of SAIS grantees. The next question is, I want to find out if a proposal focusing on developing a prototype of a product for future commercial purposes is acceptable. SAIS is not an ideation program. Hilary explained that we are trying to, you should consider SAIS as a catalytic program. So it's something that you already have developed, you want market validation, you want to further development. Those are the kind of concepts that SAIS is looking to support, rather than the basic R&D. We do not support that. Is SAIS funding subjected to taxation? SAIS is primarily funded by the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Finland and the 5 African governments. And so this is development aid money, which should not be subjected to aspects, especially VAT. The next question is, if we receive seed grant funding from NCRST for research and development, are we still able to receive funding? So SAIS, I repeat myself now, but SAIS is catalytic, depending on where in the R&D process you are. If you have developed your prototype or your product or your service and you want now to go for validation, then SAIS comes to complement such funding. But it's up to you to put up the argument of how SAIS does get you to the market, rather than to further the R&D, which is not the space that SAIS is operating in. The next question is, what is the approximate turnaround time for application processing? So one of the slides that Hilary presented showed you a timeline for when we think that we would get from concept note submission to contracting, and we see this to be roughly 6 months. The next question is, what should I attach on the application as proof or evidence that I'm in partnership with a certain entity or individual? One of the requirements when you go through the concept note, you will have to put up either a consortium agreement that you have already established this partnership, and or an intent to agree. At this stage of concept note, SAIS will also accept where you have some write-up indicating that you plan to partner with another entity from another SADC country.
Thank you, Flora. In particular, it struck me the question that related to the NCRST funding on R&D, and it's a good question. And in many ways, you really can think SAIS as a program that once you have finished your initial development of prototype, we would be more than happy to see that we can actually then come in and help your journey from that prototype stage to the market. So this type of combinations of different financing mechanisms with SAIS, we encourage to do that, but of course within the limits that we are not duplicating the efforts, nor do we duplicate the funding. But this is we are more than happy to do that, and especially in case we can support already existing initiatives that have been forwarded with the support of SADC member states government or with the other donor as well, or with the private sector. We don't really differentiate in that case. But let me turn into additional questions. And we have to unfortunately stop in a short while, but I take a couple of more here. I missed out, hold on, let's see. I'm in South Africa and would not mind teaming up with any other innovator from SADC region. That is not really a question, but yes. So hopefully you will find a partner to team up. And if you are in South Africa and you are looking a partner to work with, TIA, Technology Innovation Agency, based in Pretoria, but with the different service points throughout the country in the different provinces, should be able to also help you on this. I get the sense that it should already be an existing project, which is not the case with my project. I'm still in design and development stage. I believe I understand the market very well and only need development time. Can you this provide support? I genuinely believe this is going to fly. This is, well, it's very encouraging first and foremost, and I do have to say that, as Flora already emphasized, so we really don't provide support for simply the reflection and ideation. But you already have to have done that work, and you have to be on a stage where your product, service, or process is in a stage where it is a prototype and concept, and you really want now to test whether it's going to work in the market and access with the real users and with the draft business plan as well. So the assumptions need to be there. Let's see. I want to find out if a proposal focusing on developing prototype or a product or future commercial purposes is acceptable. As already mentioned, there's a thin line between developing a prototype and let's say refurbishing or recalibrating the prototype. But nevertheless, SAIS is expecting that you have a prototype in a place. The degree of which it's ready, of course, it's up to you quite a lot to think, but it's also then up to the SAIS independent evaluators to evaluate whether this prototype is at such stage that it can be rolled out for market validation with the SAIS support. Let's see, I think we have covered fairly good number of questions at this stage. I am just taking a few more if we have. Is the estimated total budget for both the first and the second call? So we already closed the first call. And so the budget mentioned in this presentation, this is the budget that is allocated to a second call. Can we apply for both the second and third calls? Organizations are, of course, able to apply the SAIS call, and we particularly encourage you to apply in case you were not successful on the first time in SAIS and you went forward. So this is something that you should really think about. Regarding the third call, we haven't yet decided what would be the focus or the format of the third call. And it is up then, of course, the SAIS board to decide how this will play out. So at this stage, I would really encourage you to focus on the second call. Can you advise who the owner of the intellectual property rights would be? If SAIS funding is received, would you have rights, or how does this work? So SAIS is not a program that will take any equity, nor do we have any rights or interest to access any of the intellectual property rights that are put forward and developed during the SAIS project. It will be your IPR, And it is up to you as an applicant then to discuss and to decide with your consortium members who has rights to IP and which stage and which part of the IP. The program itself doesn't take any IP or expect to have any rights to that. In consortium agreement, memorandum of agreement understanding. So consortium agreement, we expect that when you come to the SAIS project and you decide to put your resources together and apply resources from SAIS to top your resources, that you also agreed how these resources will be then shared within the consortium. You can also include other type of elements in the consortium agreement, like who does what part of the work, who is compensated where and when. It can also include a section for the IPR. We have some templates at the SAIS PMO, but also, again, I would advise you also to contact your national focal point in your country and see, because they are certainly able to help you on this topic as well. Info given in the pre-registration, title of partners, can this change later when writing the concept? Yes, it can change later when writing the concept. Pre-registration, as Theodensia mentioned, that doesn't bind you anything, but it opens the way then when you can start preparing your concept note. Now, the concept note, of course, in an ideal world, you have the partnership in place, which is then going forward for the implementation. But we do understand that, yes, consortiums change, partners may drop out, there might be other reasons why they change. So, yes, you are able and you can still change the consortium after the concept note and during the full proposal stage. But it's worthwhile to consider that when your proposal is evaluated as a concept note, if a critical partner changes that is responsible for critical part of the project, then this won't be anymore really the same project. So the core team that you are putting together, whether it's your own team and you and some partners, we would encourage you to keep that and establish that in place already before entering the concept note. Yes, one more question here. We registered before on Smart M&E and were invited to bid. However, we were asked to strengthen our monitoring and evaluation strategy. My question is, do we start all over as if we did not before and register again? Or are we being asked to edit the information submitted before? So yes, you need to submit new proposal, register again, and of course, if you submitted before, think again and also based on the feedback what you have got, that can I improve my proposal? And SAIS is providing feedback to all proposals which are approved then from the concept note stage. So whether you will be invited to the full proposal or not, you will get feedback. But the system works in a way that you have to start now because your proposal on a previous call is now diminished, and we don't, for the security reasons, we don't keep or maintain any proposals from the calls that have already been closed. How many project titles are allowed? I think maybe this is referring to the submitting of how many projects can one organization submit, which is a valid question. So we do see that organizations who have secured grants on a previous SAIS call, that these organizations are not anymore eligible. We also see, for example, that if you are an organization and you want to submit a project to the 3 different size windows, I would very strongly encourage to reflect whether you have resources to do then if you are going to the implementation of all three windows. And in the end, we will also then do the vetting that who will be the grantees, say in overall when we are coming to the final batch of those who are selected from full proposal stage. It's fair to say that we are not expecting that one organization can, as a project coordinator, act in more than one project. So think carefully on this. We, however, see that there are applicants there, say, for example, universities that have different departments and different entities which may work in a completely different areas within the innovation space. So again, here there could be an opportunity for a large player to submit 2 proposals as long as they are quite well established and different and relate to the call window. But again, bear in mind that SAIS is not a program which gives away significant number of grants. The grants are of good size, and our board is not expecting to finance more than 1 project per 1 project coordinator. You may want to be a partner in the other project, and I would encourage you to think about that. And I think that's about it time-wise what we have. So we are ending the Q&A session here. The rest of the question we can answer via email. So please send us an email and we will come back to you. And also the emails, we hope that, because these can be very good questions, that emails, we will also then scale them up to our question and answer list, which is available at the SAIS website. So all of you can have access to the same information. But now, as I'm aware that the clock is already beyond our time, I would like to thank you for joining us and invite colleagues also to thank you. Thank you for being with us, and we hope most of success for you to this concept note stage. Flora, you wanted to say something. Flora wants to remind you of one important element of this this process, one more service what we are offering for you. So please, Flora.
Yes, so in the beginning, Hilary did mention that we would have, after the Q&A session, we would put up on our websites a couple of dates that you, per country, can call in with specific questions if these questions are not answered, the ones we've answered today and the ones via email. So you'd have that opportunity. And also on Facebook, we would give these answers. So please continue to put up your questions and submit your applications. And well, good luck to everyone. Thank you very much.
Yes, and don't leave it to the last minute. Please be there at least the day before the call closes. Thank you.